Good morning, I'm Paul Gordon and this is the Peorian. Today's show is about an upcoming event, one that the community loves to attend each Christmas. But it's also about a person, a man who has had many titles put upon him through his 92 years on earth. He's been called Mayor, Your Honor, Natural Born Leader, even Cheerleader, to name just a few. He has his supporters and he has had his detractors, as a man who served 3 terms as mayor is bound to have. But few people could deny that Jim Maloof is the ultimate Peorian. A man who loves his community almost as much as he loves to sing. And he loves to sing more than anything other than his family. You will probably not see Jim Maloof anywhere that he doesn't have a song in his heart or on his lips. Each Christmas, at least as long as most of us can remember, Jim has been the song leader for the Journal-Star Christmas Sing, the annual downtown event meant to instill holiday and family spirit into Peorians. The 2011 Christmas Sing is just a few days away, and Jim is gearing up for his 44th year as its song leader. 44 years. He's my guest today, and we'll discuss his love of music, of this event, and of this community after these messages. Welcome back to the Peorian. With me today is Jim Maloof, former mayor of Peoria, a hero of decades to children and families as founder of the St. Jude Midwest affiliate. And now in his 44th year as a song leader for the Journal-Star Christmas Sing. Jim, it is an honor to have you on our program.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. You're wearing a different hat today. In other words, from newspaper writing to television shows.
I'm the editor of everything here.
You're very good at cornstalk too and all that good stuff.
Thank you very much. You know, I don't do the gridiron anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, oh well. Jim, the 64th annual Christmas Sing is Thursday night at 7 p.m. down at the Civic Center.
Yes.
And you're going to be there front and center again.
Again.
Who's going to be with you on stage?
Oh, Lee Wenger and Rebecca Borland.
And they've both been doing it, helping you with it for what, almost a decade?
I believe this is Lee Wenger's 9th year, and it's Rebecca Borland's 11th. Gene Ferris will be at the organ.
Oh, good.
The maestro who really
Yeah.
can make a piano organ sound wonderful.
How many years has Gene been doing it?
I believe it's 16 or 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of songs do they
Wait,
sing?
Gene and I go back a lot longer than the Christmas Sing. I met Gene, I must be 50 years ago. Yeah, a little punk kid out of high school, but could play the piano real well. And we started doing weddings together and shows around the area, and but he's great, just wonderful to have along.
So he knows how to follow you, right?
He better. He better. He better.
What kind of songs do they sing at the Christmas Sing?
Christmas songs. Although, I'll tell you what, obviously it's Christmas, but I mean, that's what people come there to hear. However, in the last 5 or 6 years, I believe, we began adding a patriotic number or two.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because of the accent on all of our wonderful young people who are fighting in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all those places. And so the number of veterans' families that come is really good. And as we see young people, men and women in uniforms in the audience, we like to highlight them and thank them. And so we will bust out with Lee Wenger. Anything can happen. But yeah, we like to include a patriotic number or so.
Now, the Christmas songs that you do, is it a mix of the popular Jingle Bells types with religious songs, or?
I'd like to say it's 2 segments. One is the lighter songs, being Frosty the Snowman, and those kind of songs, very upbeat songs. When Lee Wenger gets wound up and going, anything can happen. And then the last number of the first section, the first half, is "O Holy Night," and that's the only number in the whole show over all these years that's ever had a solo part, and that's the beginning of "O Holy Night." And I've been doing that, but now that Lee and Rebecca are there, they help. But then the audience gets into the fall on your knees part, and but that's the only. We're not there to show off our talents. We're there to help make people sing. I've used the expression all these years that I think next to going to church on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, is to bring your family down to the Civic Center now. It used to be the courthouse, now it's Civic Center, and sing. What a wonderful one. Whatever. I could cry at the baseball games, I guess, but it's just wonderful when you see moms and dads and kids sitting on their dad's shoulders, and then we also have, I think I told you earlier, we have a woman that comes in who signs for the hearing impaired people. It is just great. And we've also had, not only myself, but we've had some families that have been coming to the Christmas thing as long as I have. And they let you know it too, but it's just great.
How long does the show last?
With the interlude, Gene Ferris plays about a 30-minute interlude while people are coming in. There's all kinds of, since we've been at the Civic Center, they're serving hot chocolate and goodies and things, thanks to Mark Burnett and his group. And but the show lasts somewhere between 50 and 55 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk to Jim about how he got started doing the Christmas thing and what it means to him and his community. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm with Jim Maloof, former mayor of Peoria, who has long put the needs of his community on his front burner. Jim, to have endured 64 years, there must be something very special about the Journal-Star Christmas thing. What's kept it going? What?
I think I alluded to that a couple of minutes ago, Paul, in that, to me, as I see families come together at the Christmas thing, I remind them all that probably the next best thing to do about going to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day is to get your family together and come to the Christmas thing. I have them holding hands, I have them praying together, singing together. I have them weaving, I have them jumping up and down. It's not just a sing-along, it's a whatever you want to call act-along, but I love to get people involved. And once they get started, then my job gets easy.
Is there a gap between the kids and who come with their parents, the older people? Is there a gap? Do young adults still come to it?
It's getting better. Years ago, the crowds were a little bit larger, and then we had some weather problems outside in the courthouse square, and for that reason people began to shy away from it. But now that we've moved inside at the Civic Center, thanks to the Civic Center board and Mark Burnett, we saw in its second year last year that the crowd was probably 35–40% larger than the previous year.
That's good.
And this year, the third year, we're expecting more.
How did you get started with the sing?
For many years, well, probably starting way back in 1946, when I returned home from the Air Corps, having served some 2.5 years, Howard Kellogg invited me. He was the director of the Orpheus Club.
Oh, okay.
He invited me to sing in the Orpheus Club. And I took him up on that, and we sang together, I think, for 27 or 28 years. And then when he was the first song leader, he and Ann Dooley were the first song leaders for the Christmas Sing 64 years ago. And so when it came time for him to hang it up, you might say, or retire from that duty, he asked me one day, he says, I know you love singing, and he said, I know you like to make people sing. I said, yeah, I do. Yes, I do. He says, would you consider taking over the Christmas Sing if I retire? I said, well, following in your footsteps would be extremely hard, but yeah, because he was a great musician. I'm not so much a great musician as I am a singer. I love to belt songs like some guy named Paul Gordon that I know. And so anyhow, I said, it would be an honor, and when the day ever comes, let me know. And so 44 years ago, he came and told me he's going to retire. Will I still do it? I said, yes, I will. So much, number one, for the community's sake, to keep your tradition going, and then also following in your footsteps, because he was Mr. Music in Peoria all those years, Howard Kellogg.
How long, when you first took it over, how long did you think you would do it?
I had no idea.
You certainly didn't expect to go 44 years.
I told my daughter, I told a few personal friends, told you right before the show, I had been thinking about hanging it up this year, at age, how old am I? I forgot.
92.
92. How do you remember that if I can't?
Because I looked it up.
Oh, I see. So anyhow, I thought seriously this year about so many people retiring. I'm a strong believer in term limits for politicians. No, but every year, it just gives me, I get bumps and whatever, because I'm very, I just love to see people come and have fun. It's a family affair. And if you've not ever been to the Journal Star Christmas Sing, I assure you, you come this year and try it out, and you'll be hooked like so many other people.
We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll talk about Jim, his love of music, and a few other things. But first, here is our literary and culinary guy, Kevin Kaiser, to tell us what's happening in his world.
Good morning and welcome to my little world. As you probably figured out by now, I'm a bit of a literary geek and I plow through quite a few books every year, usually around 40. Since 2011 is almost over, I'm going to share with you the books I've read in just under 2 minutes. First, Jay-Z's Decoded, an interesting look into the life of one of my favorite rappers. Madison and Jefferson, two of my favorite founding fathers who worked hard to keep religion out of government. Homage to Catalonia is a reread for me and a classic Orwell. Down and Out in Paris and London, another reread and another Orwell classic. The Ancestor's Tale, a comprehensive look at evolution by the brilliant Richard Dawkins. The Perennial Philosophy by Aldous Huxley, explaining the spiritual beliefs of various religious traditions. Generation of Swine, Tales of Shame and Degradation in the 80s by Hunter S. Take a guess at what that's about. Rise to Globalism, which is about, spoiler alert, America's rise to globalism. Between War and Peace, which is about the difficulties in ending wars in the 20th century. The Moral Landscape by the insightful Sam Harris, title says it all. Andrew Johnson, which is about Andrew Johnson. Junkie, one of my favorite William S. Burroughs, which I reread every year. This Side of Paradise, F. Scott Fitzgerald's first novel, and another one I reread annually. Just Enough Jeeves, which is a selection of P.G. Wodehouse's funniest Wooster and Jeeves stories. Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. Thus began the year of David Foster Wallace. The Rise and Fall of the Bible, which charts the Bible's influence over the centuries. The Anatomy of Influence, which traces the influence of great writers upon the writers who followed them. The Quotable Hitchens, Hitchens at his best. The Portable Chaucer, daunting. The Pale King by David Foster Wallace, which we featured in the first issue of the Peorian. The Broom of the System, Wallace's first novel, which is outlandishly funny. The Fear, about the genocide in Rwanda. A supposedly fun thing I'll never do again, travel essays by David Foster Wallace. The Greater Journey, Americans in Paris, which we've highlighted on the past. The Selfish Gene, one of Richard Dawkins' earliest works. Consider the Lobster by David Foster Wallace, who wins the award for Best Book Title. Red Summer, which is about the summer of 1919 and the racial awakening in America. The Histories, The Landmark Herodotus, which we covered in Kevin Reed Stuff So You Don't Have To. Arguably, essays by Christopher Hitchens, enough said. The Town and the City, a Kerouac book I reread every year. Destiny of the Republic, which we featured on episode 11. The Loved One, my favorite Evelyn Waugh novel. A short autobiography by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which just came out this year. I reread Clockwork Orange as well, my little droogs. Socrates, whose famous last words were not, "I drink what?" The End by Ian Kershaw, who outlines the final months of Nazi Germany. The Girl with Curious Hair, it's the year of David Foster Wallace. Anaximander, The First Scientist, and last but not least, Oblivion by David Foster Wallace. I need a drink.
Welcome back to the Peorian. With me today is Jim Maloof, Peoria's best-known song leader.
Whoa, now, that's heavy.
Jim, I once asked your lovely wife, Trudy, God rest her soul,
Yeah.
how she felt.
likes you, and I don't know why.
I know. I
Tell
love
her.
Trudy, too. I asked her how she felt about you breaking into song at the drop of a hat and why she smiled every time you did it. And she said, quote, "Dear heart, I really think if Jimmy couldn't sing, he'd curl up somewhere and die." End of quote. Is that true?
Well, I don't know so much about that, but I sure enjoy singing. Not so much to hear myself sing, but to see people enjoy music. And so often people say to me, "Well, what do you sing when you go out and entertain?" It all depends what the occasion is, what I think they would like to hear, not what I want to sing. But I want to know what people like to hear, and somehow I like to involve them. And I even did that that's where I got the moniker, the Singing Mayor.
Yep.
You remember? Yep. Sure you do. So, after speeches and all, I'd break into a song.
And you also were called Peoria's cheerleader. You didn't mind being called that either.
No, heavens no. Music is the international language of the entire world. If you want to communicate with people, do it with music.
Have you ever bothered to count how many songs you know?
No, I have, since I put my book out, I've had a bunch of people say, "You gotta add some songs to your book." So while I was in Florida last year with my daughter, I took my tape recorder along and I started, for some reason, the music in our kitchen and that little place we have, it sounds like a studio. And my voice was sounding pretty good, so I started recording. I think I've got about 48 or 50 songs on tape.
Wow.
And Gene Ferris has them now. I did them all a cappella. We're trying to find a way to put his piano behind them. So, I don't know.
Package it with your book?
How many songs do I know?
The book you're talking about is your memoirs, correct?
Yeah.
And a large portion of it, it's called Go Help the Children and God Help You.
Exactly.
And he wrote it with Doug Love. And a large portion of it deals with, it's called The Memoirs of Jim Maloof, but a large portion of it deals with your work with St. Jude, correct?
It, obviously St. Jude means a lot to me. It means a lot to the kids whose lives are now being saved. When Danny Thomas asked me in 1957, there was 12 of us guys, and he took me aside and he says, "I've heard about you. You're from that little podunk town out in the middle of the cornfield." I said, "You ain't getting my support, boy." It's 1 minute we got, okay. And so, anyhow, after a little introduction, he looked me in the eye and he says, "I've heard about you." He says, "We need help. Will you help me?" I didn't have a chance to respond, but Trudy did. Trudy answered as she did several times, Mr. Thomas, if you need Jim Maloof, he'll be there with you forever. And that was our first meeting. And on my last word, my mother's last words on her deathbed was, go help the children, and God help you.
Thank you for being here today. It's
Good
been
luck with
an honor.
the Peorian. I think it's going to be great.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for watching. Jim, take us out with a song.
What's the song?
Take us out with a song.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth.
Música